Most gardeners use leaf mold wrong and then quietly decide it's overrated. They spread it expecting compost-level nutrition, see no explosive growth, and move on to bottled inputs. The real damage isn't disappointment, it's missing what leaf mold actually does best. Used the wrong way, it's slow and underwhelming. Used correctly, it becomes one of the most powerful soil stabilizers and yield multipliers you can put into a garden, especially over time. If you're serious about growing food that performs year after year instead of chasing quick fixes, go ahead and subscribe to the Husbandry channel now. This is long-game soil work, and it pays off in ways most growers never measure. Leaf mold isn't compost, and treating it like compost is the first mistake. Leaf mold is not fertilizer. It's not meant to feed plants directly, and that misunderstanding is why people write it off. Leaf mold is a fungal dominant material designed to condition soil, regulate moisture and unlock nutrients that are already there. When you expect it to behave like manure or compost, you miss its real function entirely. In my own beds, the biggest difference between compost and leaf mold shows up under stress. Compost pushes growth, leaf mold prevents collapse. That distinction matters more than most people realize. If you take a look at any healthy forest floor, you'll notice something interesting. There's no compost turning, no bottled nutrients at play. Instead, you'll just see layers of decomposed leaves breaking down slowly under the careful control of fungi. And, that natural system is what builds soil that resists drought, drains excess water, and feeds plants steadily, without any of those big spikes or sudden crashes. Leaf mold is essentially that whole system, but concentrated and portable. So when you bring it into your gardens and containers, you're really importing forest logic into, what can sometimes feel like agricultural chaos. Leaf mold is actually rich in humic and fulvic compounds that chelate nutrients. Now, that basically means it makes the minerals already in your soil more available without bumping up raw nutrient levels. In practical terms, your plants can access phosphorus and micronutrients more efficiently, even though you didn't technically add any. It also increases soil aggregation without compacting it. Clay soils loosen, sandy soils hold moisture longer. That's not theory. You can feel it with your hands within a season. In ground beds, I apply leaf mold as a surface layer, usually about 1 to 2 inches thick, once or twice a year. I don't dig it in aggressively. I let fungi pull it downward naturally. When I've tried tilling it in, results were slower and less stable. In raised beds, leaf mold becomes a structural insurance policy. I mix it at about 20% by volume when building a bed, then top dress lightly each season. Beds treated this way don't collapse into hydrophobic peat dust after a year. They stay workable. Containers are where leaf mold really surprises people. Compost burns out fast in pots, leaf mold doesn't. In fabric pots and plastic containers, I've found that adding even 10% leaf mold by volume dramatically improves water regulation. Roots don't suffocate after heavy watering, and they don't dry out as quickly either. The biggest change is root health. Roots grow deeper and branch more evenly, instead of circling and stalling. That alone improves nutrient uptake more than another round of liquid feed ever could. Most garden advice pushes bacterial-heavy systems because they show fast growth. That's fine for lettuce. It's terrible for long-term soil health. Leaf mold shifts the balance toward fungi, which build stable soil carbon and long nutrient chains. In beds where I've used leaf mold consistently, disease pressure drops. Plants don't need constant intervention. They hold steady through temperature swings that normally trigger stress responses. If your soil is sterile, compacted or overloaded with salts, leaf mold won't perform immediately. That's where people get confused. Leaf mold isn't a rescue product. It's a multiplier. It amplifies what's already working. In one test bed, with heavy synthetic fertilizer history, leaf mold barely made a difference the first season. After flushing salts and reintroducing compost biology, the same leaf mold suddenly transformed the bed the following year. Leaf mold works best when paired with mineral balance and modest nutrition. I don't rely on it alone. I correct pH first, usually with calcium sources. I supply baseline nutrition through compost or slow-release amendments. Then, leaf mold stabilizes everything. Think of it as soil shock absorption. It doesn't push growth forward. It keeps growth from falling apart. You don't dump leaf mold into hydrosystems, but its extracts matter. Leaf mold teas, brewed gently without heavy aeration, improve root resilience in cocoa and hybrid systems. Used sparingly, they reduce nutrient burn and improve tolerance to electrical conductivity fluctuations. The key is restraint. Leaf mold isn't meant to dominate hydrosystems, it's meant to soften them. People say leaf mold is slow and only for patient gardeners. That's misleading. It works immediately on soil structure and moisture behavior. What it doesn't do is force visible growth surges. If that's what you're chasing, you're missing the point. Others say it's interchangeable with compost. It isn't. Compost feeds, leaf mold regulates, gardens need both. Flavor comes from mineral balance and water regulation. Leaf mold improves both indirectly. In my own trials, carrots grown with consistent leaf mold use had higher dry matter content and stronger flavor, even though fertilizer rates stayed the same. That's the kind of improvement you can't fake with products. If you already garden seriously, it's time to stop thinking of leaf mold as just another input and start treating it like infrastructure. Apply it regularly, let it work quietly in the background, and, measure your results over seasons, not just weeks. Once you see what stable soil does to your workload, honestly, you won't go back. Modern gardening tends to sell speed, right? But leaf mold, it rewards patience. The real payoff is fewer problems, better yields when things get tough, and food that truly reflects healthy soil instead of chemical management. If this kind of practical, experience-driven soil knowledge helps you grow better food, go ahead and subscribe to the Husbandry channel and, share this video with someone who still thinks leaf mold is just rotted leaves. It's not. Used correctly, it's one of the most powerful soil superchargers you'll ever touch, and it works because it respects how soil actually functions.